It starts with a flicker. One data center went dark and the world froze. Within hours, airlines stalled. Hospitals went silent. CRMs, logins, and lifelines gone. $500 million lost in 12 hours. All because the cloud, the invisible backbone of modern life, coughed once. We were promised redundancy, failover, safety nets. But when two of the three tech giants powering the planet go down in the same month, you start to wonder who's really in control. Because the outage wasn't the problem. It was the warning. The truth is we've become digitally dependent. We check our phones 260 times a day and call it productivity. Our homes are micro data centers. Our identities are just cached sessions on someone else's server. And while we scroll, automation advances. Inside Amazon, leaked documents predict 600,000 jobs to be replaced by machines before 2033. Faster picking, cheaper shipping, humans optional. Meanwhile, another race begins, not for land or oil, but for intelligence. Artificial, super intelligence. Systems that no longer assist us, they replace us. They learn, adapt, and one day might not ask permission. It sounds like science fiction until you realize it's already here. Clouds collapsing, jobs disappearing, AI learning faster than we can legislate. This isn't about technology anymore. It's about survival. In a world where the next outage might not be an accident, this is the new battlefield. Cloud, code, continuity. And if we don't rebuild resistance now, the next digital blackout won't just crash our systems. It'll crash us. This is Cybercrime Junkies. Let's get into it. All right, well, welcome everybody. Cybercrime Junkies podcast. I am your host, David Mauro, and in the studio today are three blind mice. We have, it's my co-host, Zack Moscow, and co-host, Dr. Sergio Sanchez. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you so much. How are you? How's everything?
Things are going okay. So what we want to cover today are, what is bubbling up to the top in your worlds? What are you seeing in terms of, evolutions in artificial intelligence and AI, things that we're seeing from, cyber security, cyber risk, cyber crime, anything that is really pressing that we can summarize it in a nice, succinct way. The thought is that each one of us kind of brings one of those to the table and shares, and then we can all kind of add some color commentary and talk it through and talk, what does this mean to business leaders, people in the technology space, people in other industries that just want to be kept abreast of this stuff. So I will start with either one of you gentlemen. Who wants to go first? Anybody?
Zach, please
volunteer?
go ahead.
The consummate gentleman always offering.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, for that. Yeah, I think I want to start with probably the one event or two events in the last couple of weeks that probably everybody, even folks who aren't in our world on the
are experiencing,
right? And that is what happened last week with Amazon Web Services, AWS, going down and throwing chaos into so many platforms and services that we've all come to rely on. And then you may be aware of what happened with Azure, Microsoft's competitor to AWS yesterday. And I think we could talk about the technical reasons of why and how it happened, but I think from a broader scope, I'm more interested in just this reality that we've got three major companies or services that are handling so much of our digital world, right? And that's AWS, it's Azure, and it's Google. And 2 of the 3 in the last 2 weeks have had outages with ripple effects across pretty much any industry that you can think of. So just a sobering reminder of how vulnerable and exposed our daily lives are to outages that hit one of these 3 major.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal. It's one of the problems with monopolies, right? It's one of the problems when any organization corners a market. You know, America is built on free trade, but there are restrictions for commerce so that we can, stop certain monopolies from this exact scenario. To me, this is exactly the reason there are antitrust cases and rules against organizations having monopolies, because they go down, and every major vendor that we all use has their servers, or part of their infrastructure at least, connected to one of these. Google, Amazon, or Microsoft's Azure.
The ripple effect is crazy, and I think a lot of these companies, there's consolidation happening everywhere, right? And,
yeah, of course.
And the justification for this is that there's economies of scale involved, and the consolidation allows us to be more efficient and more effective. Amazon and Microsoft and Google have all said, even though we've got this market share, the way that we've structured these centers, these regions, allows for a lot of failover capability too, so that we're protected when an issue hits one of these sites. And in Amazon's case, I believe it was just one of their data centers in Northern Virginia, but that obviously had worldwide effects. So it's not as simple as just failing over to one of their other locations too, which I think it is really, I don't want to call it an indictment on the system or the philosophy, but in practice, it very well may be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, just think of the unexpected downtime and what that costs to businesses.
I was just looking this up. The estimate is somewhere around $550 million. And
Is that from the Azure one?
No, that's from AWS.
Oh, from AWS. Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking less than 24 hours before the problem was mitigated. Obviously, there were trickle downs well after that. And Amazon is talking about actually paying out organizations that were affected based on that downtime in an attempt to restrict their exposure from further litigation, which I think is really smart and good damage control. But obviously some organizations were hit harder than others, and the financial implications is really for them to decide. But yeah, top level estimate was in the $500 million for 12 hours of outage. Just crazy.
Right. That's just crazy. And then that's not is that the estimate that's including all of the organizations that were relying on them, or is that just their loss?
No, that is the projection. That is a third party.
That's the projection. That's what I figured.
Business loss for every U.S. business that had impact from the AWS outage. And that may be conservative. I don't know.
Yeah. And then yesterday we've got October 30th, Azure experience. Well, today's the 30th. So it actually happened yesterday. So yesterday it affected Azure's front door, which is AFD, Azure's front door, and all of the dependent services from that. And what was the cause of this one? That was the Azure one looked like it just says unplanned downtime. They mitigated it pretty quick.
It was a configuration change. It was a configuration issue.
And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that triggered latencies, timeouts, connection failures across all of these services. And I think the extent wasn't as bad, and it's not because Microsoft isn't as critical. It's just it seemed to be more minor in scope, whereas Amazon's was this DNS failure. So all of these databases that all of these applications relied on for AWS, those connections were broken. Right. This was just a minor configuration change that still impacted. It impacted tools that we use in our business. HubSpot.
Everything that we used. Yeah. Everything from HubSpot to Outlook.
For a day. Outlook was messed up. Entra ID, the way to verify and sign into things. So a minor configuration issue right, impacted all of these things. So again, that's the
Let
lesson.
me tell you something, Zach. I have 3 meetings via Zoom that day, and I couldn't connect.
Right, Zoom was affected,
0.
right? Yep. Yeah, I mean it's really unbelievable. And then the AWS, the Amazon one, that was from a DNS error, right? So
Yeah.
DNS is basically where the websites point to. And when there's a misconfiguration or an error in the DNS, the websites, all those servers don't know where to point to. They don't know where to send the data out to.
Basically, it's the yellow pages.
Yeah, it's like the
On the
yellow
internet.
pages. Right. They're like, who we're supposed to call? And they're
Yes.
like going through. Like, dude, Bob's not home. I don't know. And they're like looking through.
And it wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't a complete failure of the DNS. It was really restricted to how these platforms and websites were accessing databases, right?
Mhm.
So what they could pull from, and just that little piece got impacted. But still, who's not relying on a database for their platform and service these days? So
Well, that feeds into, if you don't mind, I'll go second because that
Go,
all
go, go.
feeds into mine, right? So let me find where mine is. So we talk about this a lot, and that is we used to have 2 worlds, right? And today there's these massive blurred lines between what we do at home and what we do at work. There's an enormous amount of data breaches and risks that occur from people using stuff at home, not using best practices, because they just think cybersecurity is something I have to worry about at work when I'm at work and for my work computer. Meanwhile, we all have these phones that have both our work and our home applications on it, right? And what's happened is there's more dependence on technology than ever before in human history. And I think that's just it's a new reality for all of us, because when we think about it, it was absolutely just crazy that these big companies, like half the company, like I would venture most organizations that have all of their data sitting on their servers, AWS, Azure, etc., they have no idea where this data is. They don't know where those servers are. They don't know where the data warehouses are, right? They used to always know. They had a box at their office, right? And it was there and they knew where everything was. If that thing went down, a human would like literally walk over to it and fix it. And now it's just so ethereal that the impact it impacts us at scale, right? And just now there's just so much more digital dependence. I mean, when we think about the recent study showed on average, we pick up our phones, we check our phones 264 times a day. That is a lot. That is way more than digital transformation. That's like digital dependence. That's an addiction, right?
Not only that, Dave, also you are now looking really of how connected we are.
Yeah. Everything from the smart refrigerators to all that stuff, right? And it just shows that all of us have to pay attention to this stuff more, just for ourselves, just for our personal lives, right? We keep reusing passwords and doing all that stuff. But my story has to do with yesterday, Alaska Airlines. Here's the post. It came from John Spiegel on LinkedIn, and he's like, he witnessed a textbook case of organizations that have good continuity plans. Continuity plans means what in English, guys? Like, it means, look, when stuff goes down,
when the
you're
stuff
still gonna, you're still gonna have,
do your business.
yeah, you're still gonna be able to function. Like the thing I keep harping on is 10, 15 years ago, we had 2 worlds. We had our physical processes with credit cards and processes and paper, and we had computers around. When the computers went down, yeah, it might have been a little inconvenient, but we weren't stopped from working. We weren't stopped from producing or rendering medical care. Today, we've gone through this so that when it does break down, we have no other option, right? Alaska Airlines. I've never flown Alaska Airlines. I don't know if you guys have. Have you, either one of you guys ever?
I like Alaska Airlines.
Yeah? I've
Yeah.
never. Never flown it. Their website and mobile app went offline, part of the broader Azure outage. No panic, no chaos. Everybody just continued in line, and they immediately had paper tickets, pen and paper to write down everything. They validated everybody's ID manually, and flights were not delayed. It just continued to roll. Even though none of their mobile app wasn't working, their websites weren't working, everything. Like that is a great, that's a great flex, in my opinion. Like that's a great pivot that they demonstrated. You know, I mean, digital channels are critical, but you still have to have the manual fallback processes, paper tickets, human ticket agents, everything else. And that's the type of thing that as we become more and more dependent on technology, AI is never going to be able to replace that, right? Because we want to do business with organizations that have resilience. So
it's a good case study to talk through continuity planning and the human cost of being able to execute in that situation and obviously have the plan.
100%.
It's impressive that they're able to do it, and I think surely that investment seems justified today. I feel like that would be I feel like continuity planning and physical backups are probably processes that a lot of companies have just chosen to ignore in this day and age because
I think so too. Because I think there's a myth, like they feel, oh, we're falling behind. If we still have paper around, we're falling behind. And they get told this from vendors, right? Like, oh, you still have those paper files? You still have those? We'll do scanning. We'll get all that in a server and everything else. Realizing that might not be the best thing, right? It really might not be the best thing for your organization. Having it available digitally, clearly there's benefits, right? Productivity, being able to find things faster, all of that. Optimization for sure. But getting away completely from the kinetic physical processes. I don't think that that's the best one. I think of rural healthcare. There was another one that I had heard of. There was a rural hospital that still had all of the medical records and paper records. They had an EHR, they had everything digital, but when that got attacked by ransomware, they still had all the physical things so that way they could still render medical care. That was part of their continuity plan. And to me, that's brilliant. That's like the best of both worlds. Like, we're ready to go. We might be slower when the stuff's down. It might not be the way you want to operate every day. But should something like that happen, people don't die. People don't get sick, or there's not lawsuits from the misdiagnosis and things like that. So that was mine. I was just really impressed. It kind of fits in right with what we've been talking about lately.
Here's a non sequitur. My son is still learning how to do long division in school, even though he knows how to use a calculator, right? So, I mean, if we're really teaching at every level, there is this technological solution here, but you need to understand, you need to have the ability to function without it.
That will teach you. That will teach him the reasoning behind
the mental process, the reasoning.
What is, what mean adding? What it means subtracting? What is a division or a multiplication? Yeah. So all these concepts. You can have a computer, you can have a calculator, and still don't know what you're doing.
Well, then you're just dependent, right? You're totally dependent.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's a really good point. All right, Sergio, bring us home.
All right. We are in a spooky season. Tomorrow is Halloween. So now I hope you had this effect like, the Addams Family or the monsters with bats flying behind me. But I'm going to tell you about something that is a little bit scary here. And I am going back to Amazon. Like Zack was saying in the beginning of the week, we have issues with Amazon services. Now, Amazon actually has problems with the New York Times. The New York Times got a leak document from Amazon, where Amazon is saying that they are going to cancel 600,000 jobs in United States. That they are expecting by, yes, more than 500,000 jobs in United States.
Now, is that because of it? Are they saying, or are they projecting this?
They are projecting that, yeah, and they already start. They are expecting that by the year 2033, they accomplish that by basically automatizing everything they have, increasing the amount of robots that they have. Just to tell you, by the year 2027, they are expecting to ditch 160,000 jobs in United States.
And this is in like the logistics.
That's the logistics. Yeah, and it's so funny because
the big warehouses.
Yeah. Now, this will sound like, oh my God, just 30 cents. Suppose they are going to save 30 cents on every item that they sell. Right. But as you know, Amazon
amortize that, right?
How
amortize
much?
That toward.
Yeah, they send every day to millions of people. So they are expecting to save from this year to 2027 around $12.6 billion. Wow. So the scary part here is a lot of people, they are going to lose their job, or some of people they are expecting to get a job with Amazon probably no anymore. Right. The funny thing about also the documents is that they are trying now to look like the good corporate citizen, that they are going to do, like a Toys for Tots, Toys for Tots, things like that, like helping people, blah, 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 just to be in the good side until this news come out of completely in the public. That's the first one. The second one,
real quick, Sergio. Sorry, I think I saw that didn't Amazon lay off 10 or 11,000 workers in the last week. I thought
yes, that was something like that
on the software side, on the engineering side. But there was, my understanding is there was a very large Amazon engineering technical layoff this week.
Gee.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Like, for people that are listening, like, what does that mean? Is AI coming for jobs? We've always heard they're not really going to come for jobs. It's going to come from, other people that might be leveraging AI. That's why you need to learn it. But so I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let me quote the winner of the Nobel Prize of Economics last year.
Yeah.
Darren Acemoglu is the name. He says, nobody else has the same incentive as Amazon to find a way to automate. Once they work out how to do this,
right,
it will spread to others. So that is scary.
Yeah, that's a major concern.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I do see why Amazon, you can see the logical thought process with Amazon, right? Like, they've got millions and millions of product up on shelves. They need to pick it fast. People that I've known that have worked in the warehouses, it's very physically demanding. They have to work very quickly. If a machine could do it, it's like a big Pez dispenser, right? Or a big vending machine. If you could just ship it here, pull it out, get it faster. I mean, that does seem like something that automation would help with. But I would still think there's still a lot of jobs that are going to have higher level reasoning or greater skills for managing all of that, right? I mean, there's still people that have to run these things and monitor and manage them and things like that. Not as many, though. Clearly not as many. Yeah, that's concerning. That's concerning. I mean, they talk about it affecting, the legal practice and things like that. I mean, it just kind of depends on.
I wouldn't want to be a radiologist.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, right? Because it could analyze things, right? You might be able to, I mean, it's not like you can get away from the radiologist role because somebody still has to have oversight that knows what to look for because AI still misses some things. but one person might be able to take the role of 5 of them, right?
Exactly.
Like one might be able to take the role of 5 of them because 5 people analyzing it.
Yep.
Right? And I could see it affecting certain practices, like in the theory of, in the practice of law. There were people that were essentially full-time researchers working at these big firms, like manually going through or online going through and comparing and contrasting. I could see AI doing all that, right? So,
Sergio, what was number 2?
Number 2,
Sorry, man.
if you think that was scary, wait for the next one. Have you ever heard about somebody called Eliezer Yudkowsky? Well,
yeah, isn't he the guy who is like the doomsayer that AI is gonna destroy the world and that's gonna be the end of it, right? He's that guy.
Yes, exactly, that guy. Well, that guy just wrote a book called "If Anyone Build It, Everybody Dies."
really,
Really uplifting.
Little
makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, and he's talking about when AI get to be ASI.
What is
which
ASI?
is basically is artificial super intelligence.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's
This-
that.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Right now, actually, we have one in between. We see is the artificial general intelligence.
Right.
That people was thinking we will get there in 50 years. Well, actually, no. We're getting
now,
faster.
Right?
Yes. And this is the AI that basically is thinking at the same level or faster level that humans. And the one that he's talking, the super artificial intelligence, is the one that we will not need of human interaction. And in his book, the thing that he's scared of is that in some way this AI becomes sentient, that he or she or
sentience
it
AI.
knows
it's the capacity to actually do things like
recognize
a human, right?
itself. Yes, well, they recognize itself. It's like when you put yourself in the mirror, you know that is you. You put, an animal, sometimes some animals, yes, recognize themselves in front of a mirror. The same way with the super intelligence that he or she or it, whatever it is, discover I'm alive, just like René Descartes. Like if I think, I exist. So that intelligence, that artificial intelligence, the probability that see us humans like a threat to it, like hey, these guys are consuming the energy that actually I need, well, let me eliminate them. So this sounds a little bit like a science fiction movie, kind of like a Terminator or The Matrix.
It does.
Or worse. Yeah.
But this character, this Eliezer Yudkowsky, actually wrote a letter that 350 people related to artificial intelligence sign it. And we are talking top-notch, scientist people.
Yep.
So that is what we need to keep looking at and see how probable that happened.
Yeah, we need to keep monitoring that.
A lot of people says, well, we can put restrictions just like we did with the nuclear armament.
Mm-hmm.
We had people checking for weapons of mass destruction. We had, the UN, etc., etc. And then somebody says, yes, what about China? What about North Korea?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically,
exactly right.
Basically, you think about it, AI is, in our time, the next arms race.
100%.
Oh, 100%. It absolutely is.
So, and talking about what you were saying in the beginning, Dave, everything is connected. Mm-hmm. We saw, like Zack mentioned in the beginning, how Amazon basically was down and took over, just like a domino.
So many other industries.
A lot. we are so much connected between each other via digital systems that what will take now, another state, another country, enemies of United States or enemy of anybody that is in NATO, to just release evil, a terrorist AI on us. So hospitals,
right,
electrical, sources, power sources, water, gas.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the big concern, right? When they found evidence through the Department of Homeland Security, found evidence of China integrating our critical infrastructure this past year, right? And they could actually change the levels in water treatment plants to poison the water.
Well,
that's a real thing. Like, that's a real capability. They were able to stop them and catch them, which is good. But that's the time they caught him. Like, we have to be right every single time, don't we?
They weren't even trying to really do anything yet. That was
correct. Correct.
I don't know. I
think they were just testing the waters, right? Like, because they're not in the position now to engage in global conflict and stuff. But if we're in global conflict because of some other reason, right?
Now they know they can.
Now they know they can.
That's
right.
Well, think about this too. You're talking about water, but if we are in a global war conflict, what stopped them to attack our radar system, our own missiles?
Well, we saw that with Russia and Ukraine, right? We saw that in different battles. There was preemptively, prior to certain bombings and certain land advancements from both sides were engaging in cyber first.
Yep. So, well, I don't know if you remember, and this was probably, I think was between 6 years ago, that the Iran nuclear project was destroyed because somebody, and they don't want to say it was the Israelis or the CIA, introduced a virus to the centrifuge machines.
This is Stuxnet.
Exactly.
Messed up their centrifuges.
But physically destroy the centrifuge. They make it rotate faster than they were able to, but in the dashboard, in the computers of the people looking at them, was normal. They didn't see anything. So,
and I think I'm like a super hacker because I can get my robo vacuum cleaner to like spin around and stuff just by throwing code on there. And I think that's really cool. Can you imagine? Like, but here's the thing too, is I don't think, we talk about this because this is the news that we have. I've got to think that we have the same capabilities. I've got to think that the U.S. probably has been caught, or maybe not. Maybe they haven't been caught, but I'm sure we have the similar capabilities to do the same things there. We wouldn't hear about it, right? Like, it's not going to make the news here. Right? Like, there's still a lot of, let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot of propaganda that we get fed on both sides, regardless of regardless of whether it's Fox or CNN, right?
Yeah.
Those and all of their sister companies. But I still think that there's a bunch that we might do that we don't hear about.
Of course.
I don't know.
There's got to be a lot of competency on our side, and certainly we're all, hoping and anticipating that we've got a lot of resources and expertise on the defense side too. And I'm sure that we are learning so much in practice from what China is attempting to do in their infiltration of DoD and their infiltration of utilities, what other state actors are doing. I think it's probably a pretty safe bet that we're quite sophisticated on offense and defense.
Yeah, absolutely. But meanwhile, I will share this as we're wrapping up, is when I was presenting over the HIMSS thing, one of the HIMSS conferences over in Wichita earlier this year, there was a gentleman from the Fusion Center in Kansas City. The Fusion Center is with the FBI, Department of Homeland Security. It's all of the different agencies kind of in the same center. And he gave everybody like a history lesson. And he explained in the late 90s, early 2000 timeline, China had redefined what the term war was. And they expanded it to include societal impact, degrading of societal values, and gathering up of mass information. And there were discussions back then, 25 years ago, of creating mobile devices and apps that people would voluntarily give up privacy and information. Like, why send over human spies if we could get them to give it to us, right? And this was publicized back then. And then you hear his position was, why do you think we feel things like TikTok are a national security threat? Right? Because he goes, because that's a perfect example of it, right? It's a perfect example of it. When you download TikTok on your phone, like the way it is now, I'm sure TikTok will stay alive. I'm sure they will figure something out, change the ownership, and then have the data be more managed and more monitored by us. But until then, like when you download it on your phone, like it records everything you type on your phone, and all that data goes over to China, like servers in China. Like that's what the T's and C's say, right? So when you're doing face impressions and you're typing in a password for another app, everything on that phone after you download and you have that app on there, even when you're not using the app, it's recording that and it's sending that. Now it's a separate company, but the ownership there in a totalitarian state, if they want the data, they can get it. I don't think that they have needed to or do that, but that's just something that, is it conspiracy theory or is it like actual, like this guy is not a conspiracy theorist. He was like the head director of the FBI. Like he was like, this is what we're literally seeing. And I'm like, well, that's shocking. That makes you feel uneasy. Because meanwhile, a lot of us Americans are curating our lives online.
Yeah.
Right? Or we think,
man.
yeah, or we think because it's Snapchat, it deletes off our device, so we think it disappears.
It's in the ether.
Yeah, it's not gone. It's not. It's sitting over on a server right there. Everything is sitting on a server. It could all be recreated because we've seen when you go buy a dossier on somebody on the dark web, you get all those Snapchat stuff. Like it's saved somewhere and it's for sale. So,
well, let me tell you, again, going back to China, remember that they have a manual for making war from the 5th century BCE, Tzu, the art of war. So they have a couple of years in advance of what to do in cases like this. So that's the scary part.
Yeah, our country's like brand spanking new.
Oh yes, and compared to China,
we're still new, right?
Very.
Well, whenever we go visit other countries, we're always reminded of that.
Yes.
Because you're walking by a building and you're like, this building's from like 1250. And I'm like, 1250? Like our whole country is just from 1776, right? Or maybe the 1600s, 1500s. But
1620.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's amazing. So, well, guys, thanks. So let's get together in a couple weeks, find another one. Let's all bring one. I think I want to talk about AI browsers next time. For me, I think that's the one I'm going to bring in. Been doing a lot of research on them because they seem amazing.
Atlas.
And yet they just seem so like, and there's so much out there in the security world that's like, they are so dangerous, don't use them. And I'm like, well, it's so cool though.
Well, think about it. That's another console wars for video games. Now this is like a AI browsers war between Atlas, what is the another one? Cosmos. Right. And it's a new one that I read that has a very weird name. Mitra.
Well, what they talk about, I've got them all on a spreadsheet here. And what they're talking about is you can still use these things. You just have to use a different browser and use that for just that.
Yes. And
or on a separate device. Like you have to just once again, you got to separate work from that. Right? So I'm going to grab like a kid's Chromebook or something that's got nothing on it and then go use it and see what it can do, right? And because if they get in there, there's nothing. There's some Skylander games on there. Like there's nothing on there that, right? There's nothing that like can really hurt us, but because they seem incredible. But that's going to be my thing, I think. But we'll see.
Good.
We'll see.
And talking about incredible, let me tell you, and I want to make this public. Dave, everybody loves your talk here in my company.
Really?
Everybody
They
says
liked it?
Like
I
it's
ran
no,
it by you guys first,
it's,
so that's
it's
good.
amazing. Everybody love it. Love it, love
That's
it, love
good.
it. So
That's
now
good.
it's
Well,
actually
IT.
it's part of the curriculum that whoever
Wow.
comes to work, new employees, they have to see that video.
I did that from a hotel, like sitting right by a. You know, I'm used to being in my studio. I did that from a hotel, and I was like, there's a bed right here. There's a sandwich right here.
We didn't
Like,
notice
got my
nothing.
socks on, trying to look professional. But I'm telling you,
It's necessary, man. That's it.
yeah. But I'm just telling you, I don't, it's not my content. It's just stuff that we all see. We all gather up. I run it by a whole bunch of people. So it's really good to hear that, though.
And it's incredible. And it's again, we are racing against already people that when you discover how to prevent, how to defend yourself, how to patch that hole, they already have idea how to open a new one. So
Right. And I think we all have to just get used to AI. And I think your phrase was perfect. I think you both said it. And it was the AI arms race, because that's what it feels like. Like every week or two, something new evolves. And we just all have to just kind of stay up to date on it and figure out how to prompt better, how to get what we want safely out of it. It's really cool.
it's
I
funny.
appreciate your time. Yeah. Any parting thoughts? Zach, parting thought? Anything you want to say?
No, I
Advise?
think we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Here's one: take TikTok off your phone.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So we have we've had on the show Darren Mott, and he's a former FBI guy. He's a former high school teacher who then went into the FBI. And he's been the TikTok town crier for years. Ever since it got popular, he's like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is China. And even me in the beginning, I had it on my phone and I was like, dude, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. What are you doing, man? Relax. Like, easy, Mr. FBI guy. And he was like, no, David. He's like, and then he started telling me all this stuff. And then they had the congressional hearings and I watched that and I'm like, man, they have no control over this thing. They had no control over this thing, and all that data was over in China. I'm like, that is not good. That's just not cool. So I'm with you, Zach. Gotta remove that app. Great app. The algorithm is outstanding, but put it on a burner phone. You know what I mean? Like, go get a cheap phone and use it for that. But
Not worth it.
yeah, don't have it on the same phone that you have
Yes.
your work email on. That's for sure.
Yeah. Have
So,
a fake
Sergio, what's
email.
your parting thought? Sergio, any parting
Well,
thoughts?
guys, I hope I didn't scare you too much. But
You
happy
did,
Halloween,
actually.
everybody.
Yeah, that was
Enjoy.
really kind of frightening.
I will be asking, ChatGPT now, what do I dress tomorrow like?
Right.
What these guys will get me more candies?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, I thank you guys both for your time. My parting thought is the same thing I've been saying for 16 years, and that is quit reusing passwords. And nobody listens to me.
Still
So
applicable. Yep.
this is why we're in the state of we're in, and this is why we got stories to tell. So keep reusing passwords, because then we can keep talking.
Yeah,
So-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, yeah, and use password as a password. Nobody will guess that.
Yeah.
So I thank you
guys.
both.
Thank
And we
you.
will talk to you guys again soon, next couple weeks.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. See ya. Catch us on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, and dive deeper at cybercrimejunkies.com. Don't just watch, be the type of person that fights back. This is Cybercrime Junkies. And now the show.